Okay, good morning sa tanan. So mga lang dai ko daan og dispensa no kay basa niyag mawala-wala niya akong connection ba. So ako di ay ang mo-discuss aning global warming and natural resources depletion. So continuation ni siya sa among topic nga environmental issue. Along sa akong presentation is na di ay po yung mga video which is maka-help lang nga mapadali or dali ra siya masabtan and mapaabot na ko sa inyo ang saktong message. Then it is best pud siguro kung magamit mo og earset or headset para kay murag hinay kay akong tingog. Okay, let's start. Global warming. So mao ni ang Earth, the planet and our solar system that we live on. However, kani atong planet is not on a good path for continuing to sustain life. The Earth is facing the accelerating detrimental effects of climate change, also referred as kaning global warming. So, unsa man dining climate change? Climate change is defined as a long-term change in the Earth overall temperature with massive and permanent ramifications. Climate scientists believe that this isn't caused naturally by the Earth, but by human activity. Earth's atmosphere consists of gases such as oxygen, or nitrogen, and other gases known as greenhouse gases like carbon dioxide, nitrous oxide, and methane. Incoming light nga gikan sa sun hits the Earth's surface. The Earth absorbs some of that energy, hitting the surface sa atong kalibutan. The rest of that energy gets reflected. Some of that energy is mobalik dito sa space. But greenhouse gases like carbon dioxide trap the energy and send it right back to the Earth's surface, heating up even more, and this is known as the greenhouse effect. Now, a little greenhouse effect is natural to the Earth, and it is good thing to have. But kung dako gani ang greenhouse effect, it will be catastrophic, causing a lot of that energy to stay in our atmosphere and heat up the Earth at an accelerating rate. Some of the human activity nga ni-admits sa greenhouse gases are fossil fuel burning, animals agriculture, and deforestation and waste and recycle pollution. Ang pagsunog aning fossil fuels parehas ning coal, oil o natural nga gas hasta po ning gasoline for some of the largest pollutants of carbon emissions. Dili lang kani pero kung fossil fuels are burnt and their gas is mixed with heat, they create smog. Mao ni ang thick air pollutant that is highly toxic. For example, Beijing smog is so thick and heavy nga dili ka makagawas without surgical mask or breathing filter. The massive amounts of hugaw nga giproduce sa farm animals emit toxic gases such as kaning hydrogen, sulfide, ammonia, ug ang kaning methane into the air. Methane is 23 times more effective at trapping heat than carbon dioxide, and roughly 80% of these emissions in the US come from animal waste. Over 56 animals are globally raised every year for food purposes. That's 8 times more than the human population, and 8 times as much waste adding emissions to our atmosphere. Land use for growing animal feed and raising animals para pagkaon use a staggering 30% of Earth's land mass in 2006. And the food production industry has only increased since. 7 football fields worth of land is bulldozed every minute para lang maka-create og more room sa farmed animals and the crops that feed them. Bulldozing land and deforestation not only emits greenhouse gases, but it gets rid of plants, trees, and forests. Mo ni ang mga butang sa atong planet that actually absorb carbon dioxide. The more i-deforest ang atong Earth, the less pod ang carbon dioxide it can absorb from our atmosphere. Solid waste landfills are some of the largest pollutants of methane gas in the United States. The average per person produces 4.3 pounds of trash per day. That's 1,569 pounds of trash per year for one person. With the 7 plus billion people nga nagpuyo diri sa kalibutan, that's 11.6 trillion pounds of trash dumped into landfills every year. But unsaon nato pagkaibaw that our human activity is the cause of accelerated climate change and not the Earth's natural process. Our civilizations produce a devastating 40 billion tons of carbon dioxide last year, which equals 700 trillion cubic feet of carbon dioxide. That is a little more than 100 Mount Everest of carbon dioxide. It's enough carbon dioxide to fill the entire Grand Canyon 5 times. Or it's the equivalent of 19 million Empire State Building. The largest natural pollutant of the earth are volcanoes. If we take the largest scientific estimate of carbon emissions produced by volcanoes every year, that's 500 million tons of volcanic carbon dioxide. But that's not even 2% of the nearly 40 billion tons of the carbon dioxide that our civilizations produce. Over the course of thousands of years, our climate goes to a natural climate cycle of carbon dioxide being absorbed and released into the atmosphere. But once ang industrial revolution kicked in, burning fossil fuels became the necessity of manufacture and production plants, and the carbon dioxide level shot up violently. Have not slowed down since. Ang atong kalibutan has not seen ingani kadaghan nga carbon dioxide in atmosphere for millions of years. Our planet with greenhouse effect is murag bathtub being filled with more water than it can drain. Eventually, it will fill up with more than it can handle. Pero nga nung mag-care man ta about kaning global warming o kaning climate increasing. The Earth's temperature has risen 1.5 degrees Fahrenheit over the past century, and it is projected to rise another 0.5 to 8.6 degrees Fahrenheit over the next 100 years. Animals and plant life are struggling to adapt to these conditions for survival. Bisag isa sa species goes extinct, it can create a domino effect with the food chain. Kung walay living plants or animals means no living humans. Rising temperatures makes the Earth's ocean become warmer, which causes something known as ocean acidification, which arises the acid levels in the oceans from the carbon dioxide reacting with the salt water. Ocean acidification harms animal life, and it is what's causing the death of the Great Barrier Reef. Problema kayo ni kay about 1 billion people use ocean life as their main source of protein. Since the oceans are becoming warmer, the polar ice caps are melting, which has caused almost 65% of the polar ice caps to melt since 1979. The Earth loses on average 400 billion tons of ice each year. Mura nag giant block of ice 4 miles long on each side. 64 cubic miles of ice nga nalanay, and it is added to the ocean. Ang atong oceans karon filled with too much water in the shores. Like in Louisiana, can't hold all the water, and coastal regions get flooded and destroyed. Climate change also causes more frequent and intense natural disasters such as hurricanes, floods, tornadoes, heat waves, and droughts. So, ang pangutana, unsaon man ni nato pagpugong? Instead mag-burn og fossil fuels, we need to convert to renewable energy such as kaning solar and wind power, which emit zero carbon emissions when operating. Energy from the sun and the wind are infinite. Unlike kaning fossil fuels, we will never run out of them. More solar energy falls on the earth in 1 hour than all the energy that our civilizations consume in 1 year. Civil engineers from the Solutions Project calculated that we could power most of the world with only renewable energy if we just actually decided to do it. If we cut back on deforestation, not only does that reduce the amount of fossil fuel burns, but there will be more plants and forests actively i-absorb ang carbon dioxide. Kung magamit ta og more reusable and renewable resources, this will reduce the amount of energy needed to create new products. This will also reduce the massive amount of landfill dumping that we do. That all sounds like great, efficient, and healthy ideas. But unsaon man ako pa personally makatabang karon? Pwede ra ka mo drive og electric car or fuel-efficient car, replacing your regular car with the Toyota Prius. The average person can prevent the emission of about 1 ton of carbon dioxide into the atmosphere. Karon, halos kitang tanan can't afford to just buy new and different cars. So para makatabang, pwede ra ta maglakaw or bike places, take public transportation, or if anything ease off the accelerator and make your car as efficient as possible. Paggamit og energy efficient light bulbs. LED light bulbs maggamit only a fraction of the power of incandescent light bulbs. Ihayhay na lang sa gawas imong gilabhan instead of using power guzzling machine parehas aning dryers. Turn off electronic or lights when you are not using them. Pagkaon og least meat or no meat at all. By replacing an omnivorous diet with a vegan diet, the average person can prevent the emission of about 1.5 tons of carbon dioxide into the atmosphere. Reduce, reuse, recycle. And of course, spread imuhang knowledge and concerns of climate change. Remember, climate change is very real and it is drastically affecting ato ang planeta, our earth, our home. And although we are the problem, we can also be the solution. Sa kani nga animated infographic, we dive into the science behind human-accelerated climate change, how it is affecting our planet, why we need to act on this issue, and how as we or kitang individual can contribute to the solution. Kay kaning global warming is a real and serious nga issue. Okay, next, natural resources depletion. From the cup that holds your favorite morning coffee to the electricity nga imong gi-consume all night sa pagtan-aw sa imong favorite show sa Netflix, almost tanan diri sa kalibutan is provided to us by nature. Although ang kalibutan has never run out of natural resources, wala nagpasabot that these resources are infinite. An exhaustion of these natural resources is actually isa sa problema karon sa kalibutan nga ato gi-try to prevent today. Resource depletion happens when renewable and non-renewable resources are consumed and at a rate that is faster than they can recover. Water is gigamit sa hydropower plant, and the Earth's interior heat is used in a geothermal power plant. Sunlight kay gigamit sa solar farm. Wind kay gigamit sa windmills para mo generate og power. Plant and animal waste are used as biomass. These are resources collectively known as renewable energies. They are called renewable energies because they can be replaced before they are consumed. Dead animals and plants millions of years ago may become oil, natural gas, and coal. Karon pwede niya to siya magamit as fuel to produce energy. These are collectively called or gitawag nato nga fossil fuels. Fossil fuels and nuclear energy sources kay gitawag nga non-renewable energy sources. They are called non-renewable energy sources kay tungod makonsume sila more quickly than it can be replaced. Renewable and non-renewable are simply sources or the resources that are utilized by humans for consumption such as food and materials. Kung ang consumption kay paspas, then they can be replaced. This is where resources become depleted. Causes of the depletion of the natural resources. Human population is now 7 billion and is still increasing as humans utilize resources for industrialization. There is also an accelerated rate of resource depletion. Mainstream agriculture for food production for nutritional requirements can have poor irrigational practices for soil management and rely on heavy machineries. It utilizes excessive pesticides, fungicides, and herbicides. And ang result aning poor agricultural nga practices are decline of important soil microorganisms that replenish soil nutrients. Kani nga practices also destroy soil structure becoming unsuitable for plant growth, generally giving stress to the land. Due to population increase, the situation gives rise to the demand in agriculture and residential communities. But these stresses for deforestation or clearing of the forest, about half of the world's natural forest cover is at present gone. And consequences ani are loss of trees and thousands of animals and plant biodiversity's destruction of the natural habitats. The loss of these of trees also cause erosion and degradation of the natural soil minerals. Deforestation also contributes to the 12 to 17% rise in the greenhouse gases, leading to global warming. Booming economy ni demand og greater number of engines, machineries o kaning minerals. With better technologies, gipasayon ang exploitation. We are digging deeper and eventually we are now experiencing fossil fuels and minerals depletion. Eventually, ang atong kalibutan will experience uncertainties from over-harvesting of petroleum and minerals. Example is puhon, ang earth could run out of phosphorus which is an essential element for plant growth. Overfishing. Nadjud ni sa human behavior nga manguha og daghan nga isda than the fish can recover its population through natural breeding. This can result to shortage of fish supply. So unsa may possible solutions to minimize resource depletion? Use electricity more efficiently. Change your light bulbs to LED. Turn your refrigerator down to a lower level. Unplug electrical devices when not in use. Set the room air conditioner at 25 degrees Celsius and apply shading to your windows and walls. Magluto using sa right size nga burner. And use fans to allow air movement to cool the room. Use more renewable energy. Ang Pilipinas has so many natural resources na naay potential to lead in renewable energy production in the world. Atong country is abundant in the following resources: wind, water, geothermal, sunlight, and biomass. Promote sustainable fishing rules. Hunt for specific species at different times of the year and use sustainable methods so that the fish can continue to thrive and reproduce in their habitats. Avoid single-use plastics. Single-use plastics kay gihimo sa fossil fuel known as petrochemicals that are commonly used for packaging. Usually, kani siya is gidispose unta right away. Ang problema is that it will take for plastic to decompose after 400 to 1,000 years. It will have enough time to accumulate in our environment, to clog our waterways that can cause flash floods. They also reach our oceans and suffocate marine organisms and die. Use public transport. Buses and trains carry many riders in a relatively smaller space compared to individuals who use their cars. It keeps the traffic from being congested and lowers emissions and reduces air pollution. The riders can also avoid the stress from driving. Recycle more and improve recycling systems. Recycling is the process of collecting and processing of reusable materials. This activity can greatly help the community and the environment because it reduces waste. It minimizes exploitation of natural resources since manufacturers can now tap domestic raw materials. It can also provide jobs in the community and reduce pollution and energy from the production of new materials. Use sustainable agricultural practices. Sustainable farming is not compromising the ecosystem. An example to this is planting variety of crops. through crop rotation. Do not use synthetic pesticides, chemical fertilizers, or genetically modified organisms. And lastly, reduce food waste. Reducing food waste is saving money since it will enable one to buy less food. Less demand for food leads to the reduction of emission and consumption of energy from the growing, manufacturing, transporting, and selling of food. The depletion of natural resources is a big problem. It has several adverse effects on humanity as well as on the whole environmental system. There are many measures that can help to prevent resource depletion. Many of them can be applied by every one of us in our daily lives. Together, we can fight resource depletion in an efficient manner if we are willing to contribute our part. This is the end of my presentation. Thank you.